to Clarity Convos for Wedding Pros podcast. I'm your host, Aislinn, and today we have a very special guest. We have one of my longtime clients, Johanna, and we are going to be talking about a really big celebration that she's having, so you guys get to celebrate with us together. But I am so excited to introduce her. So Johanna, if you could go ahead and tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what we're doing here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again. And my name's Johanna Hribal. I've been a wedding senior portrait and brand photographer for the past 7 years. And I'm really excited today to be sharing a big milestone in my business, which is that I had my first ever $20,000 sales week.
Oh, I'm so excited. When you told me that you had a 20K sales week, I just my jaw dropped, not because I didn't believe that it was possible, but because I was just like, yes, finally, let's go.
I was walking around in a daze for at least an hour. I just wasn't expecting it. And I was so excited. I was so excited to share that with you too.
Yeah. So talk me through the experience of having a 20K sales week. Like when you found out that it was 20K in sales, what was the thought going through your head in that moment?
The first thought was oh, I'm really surprised because it was only Thursday when I had this realization, and I honestly wasn't expecting it. I was kind of just going through my normal routine, having consults with people, doing my visibility and marketing work that I always do in my business. And then I was like, wait a minute, I've had quite a few things booked. So I decided to total it. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is new.
Yeah, I think we always have this this concept of when we're going to have the big months or the big weeks that it's going to all come in on the same day, or that it's going to somehow there's going to be a timer on your phone that's going to be hey guys, you hit 20K sales week. And that's it usually is where you're oh, I did book that person this week, and I booked this person, and I also booked this person. Maybe I should tally it up. And then you realize, oh, okay, it is all adding up to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I've learned with you too, is just really tracking those wins every single week, even the ones that seem small, because this is what happens is, you're just going about your week, you're booking one thing, you're booking another thing, but it's not until you actually sit down and run the numbers that you realize holy crap, I just reached a huge milestone. And a lot of people just run right past that because they're not actually noticing and keeping track of the cool things that they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that you do so well in being a client is you are constantly looking to celebrate yourself. You're constantly looking to celebrate your opportunities and the things that are abundant in your life. And I admire that so much. And I wish more people would do that and spend more time in this space of gratitude for not only what you've created, but also what has come to you.
Yeah, it feels so much more fun to run your business that way. And also it's easier to stay motivated when you're looking actively for the positives and for the things that are going well for you, instead of only focusing and zeroing in on the things that you're frustrated with.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into the nitty gritty, because I know people are sitting here going okay, this is a photographer who had a 20K sales week. She must have been working her butt off for this. She must have been hustling. She must have been in this certain type of energy. And I want to hear from you. What do you think it was that it took for you to create a 20K sales week?
Yeah, so I think I can pinpoint a few things. The first of which is mindset, because this is something I've been working on for years, but especially this year, I've really been trying to take my pricing to the next level, take my portfolio to the next level, and working on building the confidence of kind of owning that. And I've sent out some of my highest proposals ever this year, and just having the confidence to just do it, even if the answer is no. So that's definitely been a big thing. And the next thing that I think was a big contributing factor for this 20K sales week was growing my network, because two of these weddings that I booked came from a planner. One came from a referral and one was organic. So growing my wedding vendor network this year and deepening those relationships professionally has directly led to this 20K sales week. And then the last thing is just refining my client experience and my sales skills this year. So I've really, really worked on, from the inquiry to even after the or even after the consult call, even after booking a client, ensuring that they feel super confident about their investment. And during the sales call and during the inquiry responses, really just getting in depth and answering all the questions that they have.
I love that. I love that so much, because it definitely hits on several different pieces of what it takes to have 20K sales weeks and what it takes to raise your prices and have those premium prices. Because I remember earlier this year, you sent out, I think it was a corporate, a corporate client, but you sent out it was a $15,000 or $17,000 proposal. And I remember having the conversation of you kind of can't lowball this. Like you can't be like, "Oh, like I'll show up for $500." Like you really like you have the premium skills, so like the pricing has to match. So for you, like when you thought about like making a 20K sales week, what did you think that like the proposals or the pricing was going to look like for you for it to add up to that much versus like what it actually was?
Yeah, I think that I probably if you had asked me, like, how would you get to 20K in a week, I would just tell you, like, I'd have to book a bunch of weddings, which essentially ended up being what it was, but what was contained inside those packages was not the same as it would have been, like, even a year ago. Like, I probably would have had to book maybe, like, twice the amount of weddings to get to 20K as what I'm doing now. And now I could tell you a number of different ways that don't just include weddings that I could get to 20K as well. That just happened to be like the way it worked out. But yeah, that was really cool to just see that it could happen in a week. And that's not even my entire month in my business. That's just 1 week of this really awesome.
Yeah, that and it's wild because like, we're only halfway through the month. Like you could have
Yeah,
another 20K sales week and another one.
exactly.
And I think it's a really cool to hear that like last year it might have taken you double the amount of clients to book you to hit that. And now you're hitting a point where it's like, oh no, it's this amount of clients. And like probably next year it's gonna be half of what it would have taken like this year to hit 20K next year.
Yeah, and the thought of that does not terrify me like it would have in the past,
Yeah, you're like,
which,
let's
like,
go.
yeah, if you told me, like, if I only booked 2 weddings and I could get to 20K last year, I probably would have freaked out. Now I'm like, that's in the realm of possibility for me at this point in my business, which is really cool, and that's also something that I'm celebrating.
Yeah, I think just like be so proud of that because I think so many people quit so early in their careers and they quit like before they ever get to like this season where you're like, yep, I made the changes. Yep, I like raised my prices. Yep, I have an incredible client experience. Yep, I have the mindset. All of those things, the sales skills, all of those things are the reason why we're sitting here on this podcast, like having this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to know if there was any like roadblocks that you faced because I think a lot of people might be listening to this and thinking like, "Oh, cool, 20K sales week. That's so nice for her." And think like, "Oh, you didn't have any like roadblocks whatsoever." And I'll be as your coach, I know. I know
Yep.
what roadblocks are.
Yes, I know. That's so fun that you have like the behind the scenes view of this too. So I would say the first main roadblock is not realizing that it was possible. Not saying that I didn't believe it was possible for me, but it literally wasn't on my radar that having a 20K sales week was an option for me. Like I think in terms of more of like monthly revenue. So I'm like, yeah, if you told me in a month I could make that. But if you told me in a week that's what I could be making, like I probably would just be like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. And for my previous career, I kind of had this moment yesterday when I realized I made 20K this week. It would have taken me almost 10 months to earn that in my previous career, which is really sad. But it would have taken me almost an entire year to make what I make in this week of 4 bookings that essentially I'll have to leave my house 6 times.
Yeah.
Like
You
6
were telling
days.
me too that like these bookings are with people that you're just like, this is literally the dream. It's literally the dream kind of clients too. And I think that's like this extra like, icing on top of the cake of like, not only is like the sales really nice, but it's like you said yes to things you were excited about.
Yeah, and that felt really cool too. And I guess the other roadblocks are probably ones that a lot of photographers experience: self-doubt, fear of rejection, like working on your scarcity mindset. And, so this 20K sales week came from a total of 4 wedding bookings and wedding related events. And one of them in particular, I had a consult call and I got off that consult call feeling like, I don't think this couple's going to book me. They just didn't really seem to be like interested in what I was saying, or they didn't seem to vibe with me. And, we had a conversation about that. And then come to find out the planner's like, "Yep, they wanna book you." And I'm like, "Okay." So kind of separating the, like, how the vibe I got or how I felt about that from the reality of, like, that's just their personality, but they actually were really excited to book me. So that was really cool. And one of the other bookings that I got this week that paid in full was a client who I had a wonderful consult call with half of the couple. The other partner had a lot of questions for me after the consult, back and forth, and I honestly was like, they're asking so many questions that I feel like they don't trust me and they're not gonna book me. And also the result of that was after I answered many questions, they felt really confident and so confident that they booked and paid in full.
How cool is it that you didn't make it personal that they were asking questions? I think a lot of photographers struggle with this of like, oh, they're asking for this or they're asking for this. Like somehow that's an attack on my person or my worth. And you like you had a moment, like a little bit of a mindset moment where you're like, I don't know how I feel about this. But like after we kind of talked it through and we talked through like what are you making this mean about yourself? Like what if this is just like this is the decision process that they go through when they're buying something?
Mhm.
Like where is the line of the red flag versus it's just questions? And I think a lot of
Right.
people don't even like think about it in that way. And so so many people are missing out on the sale and missing out on working with incredible clients because they take it personally that someone might be asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely something I've had to work on too is like sometimes people ask you a question that triggers you as a photographer. There's definitely topics that photographers get so triggered by, and learning how to just answer the question, not let yourself get triggered by or not reacting to it in a way that could cost you the sale. And so I definitely had that conversation with you as I was getting these questions from the clients that I could answer the question in a way that would help build that trust with me. But that was definitely one that was a little bit of a struggle. And I kind of thought they might walk away because it just seems like they have so many questions that I felt like I answered well. And it kept feeling like I got pushback. But ultimately, like the answers I gave them was the key to building that trust and them hiring me.
I also think that it's not just the answers you give them, it's also the space that you gave them because a lot of people what'll happen is they'll get pushback and they'll immediately like have a knee-jerk response of answering an email in 5 minutes with like a like defensive stance. And what you did was you gave yourself space to like actually answer the question, but also like you respected your business hours and you made sure that like you weren't over explaining or getting into the weeds of anything. You were just
Mhm.
making sure that they understood so that they could make a buying process. And one of the things that we talked about was like, okay, if this goes any further and these people do have more questions, my recommendation is let's get them on a call and let's get on the same side as each other so that there's not this like you versus me mentality that might be starting to like, that dynamic might be starting to like play up. And so I think it's cool to like see you navigate these types of things in such a like CEO mindset and also just like a it's not personal mindset because
Mhm.
that's when we win the sale and that's also when we like have our clients trusting us because they know that we like want them to feel good in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would love to know, are there any like affirmations or mindset or like, mindset practices that you did in order to help you create this 20K sales week?
Yes, I definitely have been anchoring into the affirmation that I saw on Threads. I can't remember who it was from, but I want to credit them in some way that I attract clients who see me as an investment, not an expense. And that's one I've been repeating to myself a lot lately. And that really shifted my energy of like, I am worth investing in. And I've otherwise just been focusing on a mindset of worthiness. And like, I have worked incredibly hard over the years to really refine my business, not just on the portfolio side of things, but my client experience is so, so important to me. And ensuring that my business feels really aligned with the kind of people that I work with and um, the way that I photograph events. So, feeling really worthy of when I send out my highest proposal ever, like I deserve to receive the compensation essentially for what I'm offering. Anchoring into abundance, it's safe to receive more because again, some people like if I had stopped maybe at Wednesday morning of this week at just 8K, I could have said that's enough. Like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to stop posting. I'm going to stop doing the visibility work that I need. I'm going to stop following up with the other people who reach out to me. I wouldn't be here at 20K at the end of the week. So that was another one. And I also wanted to anchor into I'm going to be okay no matter what. Even if these people reject me, even if they decide not to hire me, I'm going to be okay and my business will still be okay.
I love that. I feel like if you could like just take this little moment in time and show it to like the version of you in 2021 or 2023, like, or even like the very first month that we started working together, I think it would be such a like I want to be that person. I want to be that person who's saying those things. And now you're just sitting here and like this is your normal. These are like normal mindset things that you have and they don't feel weird or sticky or like unfamiliar. They're things that you repeat to yourself over and over again. So they just start to be part of your language. I think a lot of people get into this like really interesting thing where they're like, oh, I don't want to do affirmations. And it's like, Honestly, I don't do affirmations in like the traditional sense anymore. It's just literally part of my language at this point. It's just things that I say instead of it being like this like rigid, like, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes to do affirmations.
Right. It's just like the way that you think in a more positive way, a more optimistic way, like the outlook that you frame everything around. And I love that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious too, like if a photographer was listening to this, because I think it's really, I think what could come up for people is they could look at this and be like, okay, well, she also has coaching and she also has corporate and she also has seniors and branding and all these other revenue streams. And I think that there could be like this moment of like, oh, well, in order to be where she is in business and have a 20K sales week, I have to add on all of these extra things. So I kind of want to like dig in a little bit on like if you could give a photographer who's listening to this any piece of advice and they're wanting to close more sales and they're like wanting to do this, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So first I would say you don't necessarily have to have all these different revenue streams in your business as far as like different niches of photography and things. I do and I enjoy the variety, but this 20K week was purely just from wedding related things, but I could also figure out very easily how to get there with just branding or just senior portraits or just coaching as well. So it's definitely possible for you. But I think the advice I would give them is first, like work on your mindset around scarcity and getting comfortable receiving abundance. Work on your mindset around worthiness, around comparison, because if you are so busy comparing yourself to other people that you don't have the confidence to send out a high proposal or a proposal that's just like what your packages are worth, you're not going to feel comfortable when you get on that sales call with somebody. You're not going to be selling yourself in the way that's going to give your clients that vibe that, like, I can trust this person. If you're not confident in your pricing or if you're not confident in your deservingness of abundance. The next thing I would say is a phrase that you and I have said a lot, which is get out of other people's wallets.
Yep.
You've told me that so many times, and it's true, and especially when you raise your prices and you're sending out higher proposals than ever, it's very easy to get into that mindset like, I couldn't afford this price for photography, or I wouldn't pay this much for this service, but other people can and other people will. And it doesn't matter, like, they'll find a way to do it. And just like reminding yourself of that, like, just because you might be in a certain situation doesn't mean that somebody else is in the same situation. And then the last thing I would say that I feel like is very important for sales skills specifically is to work on your communication. Having a quick response from the first moment they inquire all the way to post consult follow ups is something that could get you the sale, or not having that can cost you the sale. So many photographers are really bad at communicating with their clients. They don't give the right kind of information to their clients. And so when they get to that consult call or that sales call, their clients have a ton of questions. They might not be aligned. And then after that consult call, they're not following up because they're afraid that they didn't do very well, that the client thinks they're too expensive and they're not following up. And that kind of stuff can really cost you sales. So that's something I've really worked on as part of refining my process, is working on my client experience and my communication on the front end of things before I ever book a client.
I love that. And I think it's a lot of people when they think about client experience, they will think about like, oh, well, like, like how I show up on an engagement session or like how I show up on a wedding day or like, oh, like this template or this guide that I give my clients. And it's like, that's all fine and dandy once you have the client, but you have to have the clients first. And I think it's been really cool to watch you this year, just like really step into like your version of premium sales and like how you like show up for your clients in that way. Because I know so many people like just think that sales are slimy or sales are pushy or all these kinds of things. And it's like, that's an excuse and a story that you are going to continue the narrative of, and it's going to continue to get you the results that you're getting versus like how you've been doing it. It's very like loving the way that you like do sales. Like you're following up, not to like push them, but to like remind them of the experience. And it's just part of your process at this point.
And I've had so many clients who have hired me and they said, I really appreciate you following up. Like, because you followed up, that's the reason that we booked you, because we still haven't gotten a response from 5 other photographers reach out to. It's been over a week, and we've already had with you, we've gotten your pricing guide, we've gotten on a consult call, you've followed up, and we've already signed a contract by the time those people even respond. So, yeah, if there's one thing I can tell other photographers, it is really, really work on the front end of your client experience, because before they ever get in front of your camera, they're going to be communicating with you via email and on your consult calls. And that is how they're going to decide if they can trust you and if they want to hire you.
Yeah, it's that first impression of like, okay, this is what the experience is gonna feel like and be like for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I also wanna, like, kind of, like, give the floor a little bit to, like, some of the different offers that you have and some of the different things that you do, because if a photographer is listening to this and they're like, "Ooh, that sounds like someone I wanna work with," or, "I'm really curious about, like, the follow-up process that she has." So, how can people find you? What do you have coming up that you are offering that you're excited about?
Yeah, thank you for letting me share that. So, on my photography side of things, my Instagram is frames and letters photography. And then I also do education and coaching for photographers at Your Coach Johanna. And there, right now, I have some spots open for my signature group coaching program, Momentum. And this is a space where photographers can come in and they can go from being that like creative artist who kind of has a mess on the back end of their business to somebody who's ready to embrace strategy and have a fully booked calendar every single month of the year. There is somebody who really, really wants to clean up their client experience. And very likely, like my ideal clients I love to work with are photographers who really care about their clients. Like they love their clients. They would not bend over backwards, but they would pretty much just like hype them up. They're still cheering them on after their wedding day, those kind of things. And they really want to make sure that from start to finish that they are really providing the value that they promise to their clients.
I love that, and how do you help people inside of, the coaching spaces that you have?
So inside Momentum, we have biweekly coaching calls. We also have a Slack community where during the week, as you're planning things out in your business, as you're getting inquiries, as you're dealing with difficulties in your business, you can come in and get support every single week in your business. And there's also a structure in there that helps you to form better habits. So there's a ton of educational resources inside the portal where you can get help on things like how to make money this week in your business or how to eliminate your slowest months of the year. So there are a ton of resources that you can access anytime, but then you also have the support of being in a community of other photographers who are also working towards the same goals to hit, whether it's a 10K month or a 20K week in their business.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I am so proud of you for hitting 20K sales week, like, and just like how you showed up to that win and how you showed up to like celebrate yourself in that way was so cool to like witness. And I'm really excited for this podcast episode to come out. But are there any closing notes that you have, or any like other piece of advice or anything that you just want to share with our audience?
Yeah, well, actually, I want to take the time to thank you for being my coach for the past, I think, 3 years now.
Yeah.
This is year 3. I started with Aislinn for her very first like iteration of SAP, and now I'm in CCF, like the coaching mastermind. And it has been so transformational for me. Like I have hit my highest income month. I've raised my minimum for my monthly income. Like I used to literally have like a 1K month followed by a 10K month followed by a 3K month. And now in my business, I'm reaching consistent pretty much 8 to 13K months in my business. And that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the encouragement of Aislinn to raise my prices, if it weren't for all the assistance that she's given me, helping me to grow my network and work on my sales skills and work on my creating my portfolio and things like that. So there's really been so much work that's gone in on the back end. And Aislinn's kind of seen that process and that evolution. And I definitely could not have done it without you.
It's been, like, such a joy, like, to be your coach, like, and to watch you grow in the ways that you've grown, and also, like, just, like, there have been, like, these, like, really incredible moments of growth where, like, you were like, "Okay, this is great, and now I'm ready to go to the next level," and so it's just cool, like, I love, like, having, like, you in my spaces, and I love getting to coach you, and, like, I cannot wait to see what we're doing next, because this feels like we just got to, like, this, like, overflow flow space, like, where everything's kind
Mhm.
of, like, super magical, like, 20K weeks, and like sending out 70K proposals, and like having people join your coaching like side of things too. And it's like, okay, cool. This, and now it's magic. Like, let's go further, which is really cool.
Yes, like you always say, this and better. And one more thing that I wanted to share too, that I was thinking about this morning is there was like some study that was done by somebody where basically the 5 people that you spend the most time with have the most influence on you. And there's been studies done where, like, in a school classroom, a kid who's not getting very good grades, they sit them next to like the A students. And soon enough, their grades start to rise as well. And that just speaks to like the people you surround yourself with and the types of spaces and groups that you're in. You rise together, right? What is it? They say a rising tide like lifts all boats or
Mhm.
something. And that is the kind of space that like being in SAP or CCF is. You're in a group of people who are all working towards the same goal. And that's why I love being in a coaching space so much because everybody else is celebrating these wins, but you are too. So if you're the kind of
Yeah.
person right now who's like, I see everybody else celebrating these huge milestones or booking these clients that I wish I could have, you need to be in a coaching space because that is where those people are celebrating those wins. That's going to rub off on you. And you're also going to be achieving like things of your own as well. So that's something I've really enjoyed about being inside of SAP VIP as well. It's like seeing all the other photographers doing these really cool things that I'm like, I want to do that too. And then I'm doing and celebrating things that they're like, I want to do too. So I just love that aspect of being in a coaching community.
Me too. Yeah. And like I built like my coaching spaces based on the experiences that I wish I had had as a coach, like the ones that I had to create for myself. Like I had little like friend groups and masterminds that like I had to create because I wasn't getting it from the educators and I wasn't getting it from like the spaces I was in. And so I love that reflection. I also think that's something that like because it's so important to you, you're bringing it into like all of your different offers as well. Yay. Well, I am so proud of you and so excited for you. Congratulations on your
Yeah.
20K sales week. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for coming on the podcast to share all of your wisdom. So you can find Johanna at Your Coach Johanna, as well as Frames and Letter Photography on Instagram. She is running her signature group program Momentum, so you guys can find that information in the show notes. But we will see you guys on the next episode.